All right. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Let's see if this is working today. Not like last time. Oh, yay. We are live, successfully working. I'm still scarred from last time. We're not going to talk about it. The evidence is on our YouTube channel, but I'm just not going to watch that.
We're just going to say that Elizabeth Hargrave is like super chill, super awesome.
Yes.
She can handle wild animals. She can handle us, basically.
Yeah, that's very true. So hello everyone and welcome to Board Game Broadscast. My name is Pam. I'm joined by my lovely co-host Kathleen Mercury.
Why, thank you, Pam Walls.
I would have to change my Twitter handle to 7Ls if you want to call me that.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's totally a thing.
I could do it. Yeah. I can start a fifth Twitter account.
Oh my! Like I barely handle one.
One of them is work. One of them I just use to complain about things.
Ooh, what's that one?
It's called @PamJam.
Oh.
I think I have 20 followers. And I just complain about transit and airplanes and, those sorts of things.
Oh. Well, but you don't even really, like, if you don't have any followers, then you don't need to worry about what you say. So that's like
exactly. It's actually it's very liberating to just be like,
right,
just like not care, just be like, this is unbelievable, unacceptable. And it's the work.
I'm very disappointed with you, Mr. Transit operator.
Exactly. And I think, it worked one time. WestJet gave me a discount or something because I complained. Anyway, coming back. Hello, everyone. Welcome. So excited to have you. And I'm so excited for our guest tonight, the amazing Peggy Brown.
Yeah.
You would remember episode 2, I think it was, I chose Buzzword as my game of the show, which is one of her creations, one of her hundreds of creations that she's done. Nice. So I'm really excited to chat with her. If you have questions for her, feel free to put them in the comments and we'll try to get to them if we can. So she'll be joining us in a few minutes. So before we bring her in, just want to check in with each other. It's been it always feels like it's been so long.
I know. But well, I mean, and for me, it's like between every month, it's like this summer, especially, it's like been a whole lifetime in between them. So yeah. So what are you up to?
Oh, okay. I feel like I'm a bit of a broken record these days. It's just like waiting for contracts, waiting for decisions from publishers still. I did hear back from the publisher about Artsy Fartsy. And they said it's on the cusp of being published. They said that overall it scored well, but they're just not, they don't know 100% if they want to publish it. They say if they do publish it, there's some things that they want to work on, but they didn't elaborate and say what those were.
That's helpful.
So I was like, great, yeah, just let me know if you want me to help with work through those things,
Right.
like I might be helpful. They have not responded, but they said that I would know by mid-August, which is today. So probably a couple more weeks. We'll see.
Yeah.
So because I've just been waiting, and then Three Musketeers is on hold. Act Fast, still waiting for the contract. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to open up my brain a little bit to other ideas. So I actually have an idea that I'm kind of excited about. I haven't tested it yet. Tell me what you think. And people watching, tell me what you think. Would you play this game? So the idea is you're at a group interview. You're all sitting around a table and you're having an interview for a job.
Okay.
And the boss is having you all do these random things. And, so have a card. It'll be like, demonstrates good written communication or something like that. So like a typical thing you'd see on a job posting. But then it would be like, all right, everyone has 15 seconds to make a 6-letter word with like these tiles or something like that. And anyone who did it, they can put one of their cubes into a bag. And then you keep doing these, I think like 10 of these random challenges, and you're trying to get as many of your cubes into the bag, completing as many tasks as you can to get as many of your cubes in there. And then at the end, one person will go in randomly without looking, pick one, and that's the person who gets the job and wins the game.
Well, I do like the idea of making them sort of like fun versions of tasks you have to do in an interview. So I think the one thing I would want to do maybe is have a timer, but like make it like an ascending timer or descending. So like the first time you get like a minute to do something, and the next time it's 50 seconds and 40 seconds and 30 seconds and 20 seconds and 10 seconds. So just like bing bong boom, you know what I mean? So you just have that
ramp up the time.
Like I want to see people just like throwing cubes across the room. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly. That's actually one of the tasks. That's like, all right, just if you try to throw one of your cubes into the bag, and if it gets in the bag, it stays, kind of thing.
That's so funny. Yeah, like have like what kind of tree would you be kind of questions, but make people have to like demonstrate, like actually like do like a tree pose and yoga.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
all those
challenges.
Like cheesy questions you get in interviews sort of idea.
Come up with as many reasons on like as many let's say like what's one of your negative traits? You have to come up with as many negative traits about yourself in 45 seconds. Like I drool, I fart, I have constant diarrhea.
But the thing that I like about it is that even if you do terrible, you just need one cube in there and you still have a chance.
Right. Oh yeah, like that's the thing, because like a job interview, like people will do or say anything to have this job. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, I think having people like lightly humiliate themselves for the prospect of having a cube pulled out of a bag, I am for it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I don't know. Can you see any of the comments on the stream at all?
I cannot. I've got it up, but I don't see anything. So if people have said anything,
okay, I just didn't know if I could see that. Cool. If anyone's watching and they want to say hello, just to make sure I can see the comments, that would be cool. Or if you want to say, hey, Pam, that game sounds amazing, I would buy it.
Right.
Feel free to comment.
Or even send me a message through like Facebook Messenger. I'll keep an ey on that in case there's a lag too, because it's cool.
So that's mainly what I've been up to. I'm looking forward to Fan Expo next week. Hey, Tammy, yay. Okay, it's cool. It's working. So Fan Expo is next weekend. You and I are going to be hosting some panels, which I'm super excited about.
We get to meet in person.
And we're going to meet in person. Yay!
Yeah, I'm going to disappoint you.
I'm going to hug you, squeeze you so hard.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be so fun.
I'm just going to keep like poking it. Yeah, so that's gonna be fun. I have no idea what timer panels are or what.
Yeah, that's doing fun. But guess what you'll be doing and when.
Yes, we'll be there at some point. But I don't want to take up all the time. I've taken up most of it, but those are the main things that I'm up to. What have you been up to?
Well, I was on the summer. I was on the road basically all the summer. I went to Indie Games Expo. No. UK Games Expo, then I taught game design for a month, and then I went on a road trip between Dice Tower and Gen Con. And so my exciting thing is a game that I had as a stack of cards from a project that didn't work turned into a game really, really quickly, and a really good one. And I showed that and this other game to publishers, and I have like serious hardcore interest. And it's one of the things, because like the one game we've been working with off and on for like 4 or 5 years, and it's fun, but I'm kind of ready to like adopt that little stray cat out. And so now the fact that then it's like, oh, and then here's my 2-month-old baby, and it sounds cheesy, but I feel like a game designer because I actually went like mechanics first. I had like these cards and how can I make a game out of this, and I love it. I love the theme. I love everything about it. I'm so happy. So
can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, this is my game Valkyrie. So Valkyries could choose who fought on the field of battle. They could choose who were slain, and they made tapestries out of the bodies of the dead. So that's what you get to do.
So just a light family game.
Yeah, it's great.
Elaborate, yes. Please.
Yeah. So anyway, so basically, it's the tiles have a style I've not seen before. They're just they have 2 diagonals in a straight line, and basically you move your Valkyries around, you lay down tiles to add more Vikings, change the pathways. And the cool thing is as you lay these tiles, because of the styles, you actually create runes. And so when you make runes, you get to collect those, and those give you permanent abilities. So there's like a little engine building aspect to the game. So it's like really easy to teach, but it's thinky, but kind of thematic. So I love it. I love it. So I play tested it today with one of my former students, and like he was impressed that I came up with that. So it was pretty good. So yeah,
that sounds awesome. Yeah. Are you bringing it to Fan Expo?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'm excited to play it.
Yeah, cool, good. Yeah.
So are you talking to publishers right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a couple tweaks that I want to make to it. And then after that, I'll be shipping it out to friends near and far. So I'm really excited because I got just amazing response and feedback when I would like put it down and explain. People were like, "This is cool." I'm like, "Yeah, I think it is." I think I came up with something, you know what I mean? Like, weird, right?
I love that feeling. That's so awesome.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited. I mean, I'm always like, hey, I'm I always call myself an amateur plus designer, and I'm not trying to denigrate myself by any means, but it's just, I feel like I have a lot to learn, and I feel like this shows me that I've made a big step forward, and I'm super proud of that.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats. I'm excited to see what happens with it.
Thanks. Me too.
Very cool. Any other news before we add Peggy?
My other game that I've been that I reworked is finally I had some really substantial feedback to that. You know, one even said, "I'll sign it right now as long as you're okay that we wait till we decide on what the theme will be." You know, so like really, really good feedback. So I'm hoping to get
like they want to retheme it, or you don't have a theme right now.
No, it has a theme, but it probably needs a better one. And that's okay because there's all kinds of different directions. It's basically how do they want to kind of go about it, because it's a system that could be applied to so many different themes. So super cool. And so if I can get those kind of wrapped up by the end of the year, I will feel very good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to playing. Are you bringing that one to Fan Expo too?
I can if I have a copy of it. I don't know how many. Yeah, I'll bring one.
Yeah, I'd love to play both of those.
Okay, that one's fun. They're both
nice.
Fun. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna add Peggy Brown here. We're gonna have a chat. So here we go. All right. Hello.
Hey, lady.
Hi.
Yay.
Yay.
I'm so glad you're here.
I can hear you.
I'm here.
Yay.
Oh,
so we just want to have everyone know that after last week's horror show of tech problems, Peggy's like, why don't we just like start an hour early just to make sure? And my gosh, we are glad that Peggy Brown is smarter than the both of us together, because we got it all figured out. So huzzah.
Yeah. And it took 50 minutes. That's how long it took. So
yeah.
And we chose an hour, not a half an hour.
Yeah. So cool. Oh, hi, Mary. Hi, Tammy. Yay. Cool.
Hey, Anne's here as well.
Good.
Got a bunch of broads watching. Very cool.
Yeah.
So excited to have you here, Peggy. Thanks so much for joining us. I know you're very busy.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for making the time.
Sure.
So for maybe just let people know, for those who might not know who you are, sort of introduce yourself, let them know kind of your role in the industry and that sort of thing.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I've been in the industry more than half my life now, which is quite a long time. My background's in industrial design. I went to design school, and then my first job out of school was as a game designer at a company called Western Publishing, which is no longer around. Their game division was bought out by Hasbro back in the 90s, and it was a printing company. They did lots of books. You guys remember Little Golden Books?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the publishing company.
Oh, cool.
And out of that game department came Girl Talk and Outburst and some of those, sort of seminal games in the party game era. Mm-hmm. And after that, I started a company called Alley Oop, and with a buddy of mine from school, and we did game development and design, mostly design work for all the major game companies. And let's see, after that, so I've been in and out of companies for the whole time. And lately, I'm running another company It's just design, development, invention, and I'm based in Milwaukee.
Cool.
That's what
Very cool. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome that you've worked for companies, but also done your own freelancing stuff. So you've sort of done both. Right now, are you primarily freelancing?
Well, I guess it's freelancing. Yeah, I mean, I have a little company. I've got a few designers on staff, and
Okay.
yeah, we do service. We're a service bureau, so we do design work for hire, but we also do a lot of development, make up games and license them. But we also do toys and stuffed animals and some housewares and all kinds of stuff. So we've got our fingers in a lot of pies. I think it just stems out of short attention span. I just can't focus on one thing at a time, so I have to do a bunch of stuff. But
yeah, well, and that's one thing too, because especially, you know, in this sort of era of, you know, game designers becoming celebrities, becoming well known, and becoming, you know, having these followers develop around them, you know, what I think is so impressive about you is, I mean, you were in this game long before the vast majority of us even knew of it, you know,
yeah,
and that you've had such a prolific career. You've had your hand on so many products, like hundreds of products at this point.
yeah.
You know, and just I'm so excited that you're here with us, you know,
Oh, thanks.
to share of your experiences. Really, thank you for making the time for us.
Thanks. Well, you know, as a staff designer, when you're inside companies, you just do your job, and they plop a project in front of you, and you just work on it. And so there's been a lot of that, and then there's been also where I've run development departments in companies where you just kind of frame out a line, and you say, well, okay, we need a line of preschool stuff, we need a line of party stuff, we need, you know, you just keep building them out, and before you know it, you're doing 40 things a year or whatever, and then just all the different aspects, they all just sort of spread out, and you do the development of the rules, and then you do the play testing, and then you do artwork, and you do manufacturing stuff, and so it's just kind of all over the map, but it sort of all has to happen.
That's so interesting. So when so you started in industrial design, and then your first job, like you said, was just at a game company.
Yep.
I mean, from back then to now, what are the biggest changes that you've seen in the gaming industry, as you know, either from the industry itself or as it relates to design? What would you say?
Well, back in those days, I mean, that was right when cable TV was, you know, coming out. So everything is different about the way games are marketed, about the way people find out about games. Man, there used to be not that many that would come out in a year, just because there was not that many different ways to get the consumers involved. And we used to create a game, and then we'd shoot a TV commercial for it. I mean, those days are kind of gone. It's
Right.
very rare that things are marketed in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And in those days, there were lots of different toy companies. But then, sort of I guess it was sort of like the mid '90s, the bigger toy companies started buying up all the game companies. Now I'm more from a mass market sort of side of the business, and designing games and toys both. The companies were sort of like gobbling each other up to the point where there weren't that many places left to work, or for whom to work as an outside company. So I went inside, and because I just clearly couldn't get enough punishment from the outside, and then so that's when I spent my time inside corporate, and you know, on a different sort of, in a more of a mid-sized company. And I don't know, it's sort of been like this sort of up and down. You know, it's like wisdom. You wait long enough, and you watch it turn back, and so now, I mean, it's really good. There's a million games out there. There's a million places to market them. People are hungry for them, but it wasn't always like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one thing that people have been talking about a lot lately, is just how many games are out there and game companies, and can the hobby really support that? But you're sort of taking the opposite approach, where you're like, it's amazing to see this growth, and the more the merrier approach. Would you say that's accurate?
Well, it's really different. I mean, to have this much opportunity is really not the way it always was. And there also used to be, and there still are, some really, really big players that sort of hog up all the space. And but it's really different now with Kickstarter and with the internet. There's so many more ways to get your message out there. Yeah. So I don't know if it'll go back to that again. I think there's just so many rogue ways you can do it now.
Yeah, and the hobby itself, there's, you know, I see lots of people who don't necessarily identify themselves as gamers nowadays, but they like to play games, and if they like a game, they'll buy it. And it's just a different type of consumer. It's not just the hobbyist anymore. It's really broadened from there.
Sure. Yeah. And I think there's other kinds of people coming in too. People that just can't afford to go to a ball game or whatever. Right. You know, it's like people just don't have the money like they used to in a life to spend on certain things. And games is really cheap entertainment.
Right.
At all levels. At, you know, people that are really into hobby stuff, and same thing with moms with little kids. That it's just an easy way to spend a little bit of money and have a good time.
Right. Right. Yeah. I was at a bar mitzvah, and I'm sorry, Pam. I was at a bar mitzvah, and with my 7th graders, because I teach game design to middle school gifted kids. And I was on this dance floor at a bar mitzvah, and this mom came up to me, and we're talking because I taught her daughter, and she said, my daughter asked for these 3 games, and they were games that she had learned in my class. And she said, and I bought them. She said, I will always, always, always buy board games for my child, because if she wants to be at the table playing games with us and her family, she said, I will always support that. And I was like, hey, that's so awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, you know, you talk to moms, and there's lots of reasons why they buy games. I have a friend, Linda Schmidt, who has a store in Chicago, a game store called Cat and Mouse, and she said she would have a mom come in who just had these kids that were just at each other's throats, these little kids, and she's like, "What am I going to do?" And then Linda walks her over to the Peaceable Kingdom area, and the mom sees the logo, and she's like, "Oh, I'll take a bunch of these."
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, there's lots of reasons why people can rely on games for whatever.
Oh, that's so good.
Did she buy it because of the logo primarily?
Well, she just heard Peaceable Kingdom, and she just bought into the whole notion of serenity.
What an effective logo! That's pretty good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Peggy, like we're saying, you have worked in this industry for a long time. You've created or been part of creating so many cool things. So I don't know if it's possible, but if you look back, is there one thing that you've done that you're super proud of, that you accomplished, that kind of stands out in your mind?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Well, first of all, I can't remember anything. But secondly, no, there really isn't. I mean, everybody's like, well, what's your favorite one? I don't know. I mean, there's the ones that last, and those pay some of the bills, and there's ones that are, you get a bang out of them for whatever reason. There is no answer to that for me. There is nothing that stands out.
Well, one very cool sort of moment, rather than sort of it was still an accomplishment, but like one really cool moment was when you won the Toy and Game Industry Excellence Award at Chi-Tech.
Yes,
I think Mary Cousin's watching
hey, Mary.
Chi-Tech, which is cool. Yeah, won the Game Design Award in 2009, and it was presented to you by Leslie Scott, who designed Jenga. What a cool moment. That is so...
That was a wonderful moment. Yeah, that should stand out more, but of course I can't remember anything anymore.
Yeah, well, luckily it's recorded and it's on YouTube for anyone to watch.
Right. that was a lot of fun, and it is very meaningful to me to have been recognized like that. It's kind of a big deal. And it's funny, and I think that's the thing about the Taggy Awards is there are so many of us that are just doing the work. You just go to work every day, and it's the thing that you do, and you don't really think about it all that much. And one of the things that's kind of strange, or that a lot of people are surprised to find out about, is that you make these things and then they go out into the universe and you really have no idea how they're doing. You don't, you'll get sales reports and stuff, but you really don't know who's playing them, how they've affected the people that have played them, what people have learned, and all that kind of thing. And so to be recognized like that among your peers, it's kind of like there's only a few of us on the planet that really understand how many different aspects, how many different skill sets, how many different ways of thinking need to go into this little cardboard box. And, it's not a space shuttle. I totally get that. It's not that holy. But when you really think about it, you're designing a thing, you're designing artwork, you're doing all these things, but you're also you're designing the way people interact with one another. And that's kind of an intangible thing, but it's the essence of everything that we do. And that's the stuff that people remember. So we're creating all these play experiences, and we're almost completely anonymous in this whole scenario.
Well, that's the thing, and that's what is just your name isn't on a lot of the things that you've created. Like everyone should know your name. Everyone should know the name Peggy Brown. And a lot of them don't because it's not on these things that you've created.
Right.
You know, it's almost like an author wrote all these books, but their name wasn't on it.
Sure. Well, and you know what's even funnier about that is that you can look at all the things that I've invented and licensed. And then there's all the things that I have fingerprints on, which is a lot more stuff. And as a matter of fact, you talk about Buzzword. I didn't even invent that one. I just wrote it. It took me months of writing. That was as much writing as a novel. And it's, you know, that's my stamp on it. That was invented by Random Games, Michael and Gary out of Michigan. And that was, oh man, that was in the 90s. No. That was in the 2000s. Maybe 2002, 2003, something like that. But there's lots of games that I'm working on just one aspect, maybe just designing a box or maybe just designing a play pattern or writing rules or we write tons of content, lots and lots of content for games. So, there's just like all these little different ways that you can be involved in it and maybe not do the whole thing and maybe not license it, but have a really major effect on the product.
Well, I have a question following up with sort of mass market games. If somebody has a game that they think would have a good place in the mass market world, like a brand new designer wanting to break in, like how can they do that? I mean, it's easy to, you know, go up to indie publishers at game conventions and you can pitch to all kinds, but how do you cross that threshold into the mass market, into like the bigger publishers?
Well, I was lucky enough to start at a publishing company, so I was sort of inside and I met people from in there, and that was a long time ago. But I think the best way now is to go to ShyTag, which is in Chicago in November. And yeah, I'm biased. I'm on the but I will say, and I have always said that if ShyTag would have been around when I was new, it would have saved me 10 years of shoe leather because I had to infiltrate. And that was back in the days when you could call up and there was a receptionist that actually answered the phone and you could drill and you can send her donuts and you could butter her up and try to get in however you could. And then you would show up at Toy Fair and you just wouldn't go away. And then after like 10 years of doing that, they're like, well, I guess she's not going to go away. And then I might as well listen to what she has to say.
Just wear them down.
Hey, there's one game company I pitched for 19 straight years before I did a single piece of business with them.
Wow.
Ooh. So yeah, you got to be persistent.
Yeah.
But now I really don't know how you would infiltrate. You could get an agent, which I really recommend. If you're totally new and you don't know what you're doing, how to sell stuff, get an agent. Or if you're crummy at selling, or if you don't want to sell, it's not a bad route.
Huh.
Yeah, not many. I don't know too many designers that have an agent. Like, would you even go about finding one?
Well, there's a few different ones that they kind of cover the whole industry. And if you Google around, you can find them, or you can, I'm sure you could connect with ShyTag somehow and you'll get a list of agents. And some of these guys have been around for lots and lots of years, so they have all the connections already made. And yeah, they take a piece of the action, but boy, if you want to be a game designer, selling games takes up most of your time. So if you want to be in your studio making stuff, let somebody else sell it.
Huh. That's really, really interesting. Because that's the thing too. Yeah. Because on the indie side, it's pretty much, I think for most of us, like on our own going to meet. So I didn't even consider that. I think that's.
Well, it's kind of like, like an author has an agent to get into publishers. Sure. It's the same exact thing. And it's the same exact way that you do the deal. But the agent has all kinds of connections that it would take you a lifetime to make. And then you're spending that lifetime making connections with publishers instead of doing your craft.
Yeah, it's very true. And that's part of why I'm hesitant to run a Kickstarter, just because now instead of focusing on the designing, you're dealing with the business side and the logistics side.
Yes. Yeah.
A whole other part.
Yeah. It's a ton of work, and it's a full-time job. And if that's not your bag, just get somebody else to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and Mary Kuzan just posted in the chat that Hasbro has a list that they give out. So if that's something that people want to do, that's really interesting. Yeah, because one of the projects that I'm working on, I think could very well be suited to the mass market audience. But I don't even I know indie publishers, I know small publishers, but how do I cross over?
Yeah, Mary Kuzan, listen to her. She knows an awful lot. And if she's got a conduit to a good list, that's a good place to start.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Well, okay, so I have a question about creating, since that's probably the fun part than selling things. What is your creative process? Because you, like you said, you could be going from a box to a toy to a game to rules to whatever. Are there any sort of like unifying things about what you do for your creative process, or what have you learned over the years about your creative process?
Well, it's kind of like the way I used to go to school. I never go the same way twice. And so I can't really say, you know, sometimes you get a project in and there's some criteria. You know, sometimes it's about an audience, or sometimes it's about a retail opportunity. Oh, we're going to do an Easter end cap. We need $10 items that are going to, you know, be for travel, or, you know, like you get like these little tidbits for opportunities. But then sometimes you just look at who's got what in their lines, and you just see if you think, I mean, over time you kind of begin to understand which publisher has an appetite for which kind of thing, right? And and then you just kind of try to give them what you think would be the next logical evolutionary step in their line, because most publishers don't. Well, the ones that go from one thing to something really far afield, they usually get burned. And so the smart ones sort of like evolve things little by little. And if you show them something that they're not going to be ready for yet, it just doesn't go anyplace. So yeah, you look for marketing opportunities, or you get harebrained ideas, or you see a gizmo that you think is cool that you like the action of, or there is no real answer to that. It's all over the place. Like I had a project one time where this company said, "Oh, we've got 100,000 of these little cats in the warehouse. What are we going to do with those?" I said, "Oh, okay." They said, "You make up a game and we can use up these cats." You know, little thingies. And I'm like, "Okay, fine." So I made up this game called the Cat's Pajamas to use up these little cats. And the funny part is, they never licensed the game from me, and I don't even know what happened to the cats in their warehouse. But I've licensed that thing a couple of times to different companies over the course of time, and that was the genesis of it. But it doesn't really matter, you know. It could have been anything. It could have been we need a cat game, or it could have been we need a preschool game, or we need a pattern color matching thing, or we need a thing at this $20 price point, or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's something that I noticed when, like, at that Hasbro Inventor Day that we were at, where they gave all these presentations of, all right, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for this like a bullet point presentation. And so I was taking notes, and then I went home and I was like, okay, so they want this price point and they're looking for this market and all that stuff. And I was trying to come up with ideas for that presentation in mind. So when you are dealing with those sort of parameters, how do you generate these ideas? How do you, turn that creativity on within those parameters?
That's a really good question. I would like to know the answer to that myself. I really don't know. I don't want to sound like a jerk about it, but I don't know. I think I've been it's a muscle, over time you get good at this kind of stuff. So when you at that Hasbro Day, you learn which lines they're trying to evolve. And the reason why they're trying to evolve those lines is that's where the biggest monetary opportunity is, obviously.
Sure. Yeah.
So so your interests are totally aligned with that. But I think I don't know. To me, that's just like taking an order at a like you're just a waiter and you're just taking an order at a restaurant. Like, oh, I would like 6 collectible little kids la la las. I'm like, okay. I don't know. And you go back and you thread the needle and you just say, okay, how about these? How about this? How about this?
Just go to the kitchen and whip something up.
Yeah, well, and it's kind of like throwing spaghetti at the wall, and it's not all going to stick. It's a lot of it slides down, and it doesn't go anyplace, and then it sits there for a while, and then somebody else has an opportunity, and you sort of redress it and bring it back, and I don't know, you just it's like it's a numbers game. You're just taking swipes. It's a lottery.
Well, I remember when I first met you, you said something that I'll never forget. You were like, designing games and pitching games, it's like throwing darts blindly. You don't know what's going to land, so just throw more darts.
Yeah, I think right. I just said it's a numbers game. It is. Yeah. It's the more you have, because you can go to these meetings and you can listen to what people say about what they want, about what they're trying to put into their lines, or what their retailers are asking for, or what their customers are asking for. And by the time you put it together, none of that information is relevant anymore. And it's all just when you can capture somebody's imagination. And you know what else? There's plenty of times where you show them something that if you would have shown it to them the day before, they would have loved it. But for some reason, they got their tie in a mud puddle on the way to the office. And there's all these reasons why today might not be the day.
Right.
And I liken it. I always use the analogy of selling peanuts at the ballpark, where you're just trying to sell these dang peanuts, and it might be that somebody spent their money on beer. It might be that somebody's allergic to peanuts. It might be somebody's not hungry anymore. It might be for whatever reason. It's not that you're awful, and it's not that peanuts are bad. It's just not the moment. So.
And that's like with your cat game, they asked you to make that game and you made it, but then they didn't even do anything with it. So at what point did you start, you're like, all right, I'm going to show this to other people then because I've got something here.
Right.
Well, I think in the earlier days I was more timid about that stuff, but now I show everything to everybody, and the first one that runs at me with money can have it. I don't get that particular because it's so rare. I mean, yeah, okay, I make lots of contracts and lots of deals, but it's a small fraction of all the work that I do. And so I don't hold anything for anybody.
And when you do that, do you let the publishers know that you're showing it to other people?
Well, I think there's kind of I don't talk about that. There's an assumed, there's never been anything said that this is exclusively for you to consider until you decide 3 years from now whether or not you're going to grace me with a, I mean, that's exactly. I don't play that kind of ball. That's crazy. Can't pay the rent that way.
It's true.
Do you ever design things for fun?
Oh, yeah. I love designing things for fun. That's what I do.
Well, yeah. I mean, and I don't mean that to be a dumb question, but, especially when it's your job and putting stuff together, like, is there a part where you're like, I'm done doing this, I'm ready to do something else? Or is it just something that lives and breathes in you all the time?
Well, there's always a lot of things going on at once. And yeah, you have to, I mean, everything has a priority. And of course, the phone rings and then you have something that wasn't a hot tamale yesterday that all of a sudden needs attention. Mm-hmm. But yeah, a lot of the things that I work on because I want to, because I think they're fun. Now, of course, the frustrating part is that time when you get to do the fun part is so minimal compared to building it out, making it work, costing it out, talking to factories, getting it together, talking someone into licensing it or whatever, knuckling through all the marketing issues. That stuff takes so much time that the little nugget of the fun, creative part turns out to be just really a seed. But I think I like to try to get a whole bunch of those things going on at once, so they're all popping at different times. Kind of keeps me going.
That's awesome.
And how do you, when you have multiple projects happening at different times and they're at different points on the pipeline, how do you stay organized?
I make a lot of lists. It's just really, I don't know. I've tried to use some of these organizational tools, but I don't seem to be able to wrangle myself in that way. And I find it to just be more work to manage organizational tools.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested in that. I just want to do the creative stuff. And so the rest of it is a little bit messy and it just kind of goes to the back burner whenever I can shove it there. But it's all got to get done. You got to keep track of who owes you money and you got to keep track of who's sitting on something for too long or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And that all takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, sure. What makes you happy when you're making games? What is is there a thing where it's like, this is what, drives you when you are working?
I don't know. I like so many aspects of it. And I think that's why I was lucky that I landed in this job instead of working at the tractor factory, because I like writing and I like story and I like wordplay and I like puns and cleverness. And I I still play kind of like a little kid. And so, they all make me happy. All those things make me happy. The running of the business, the just endless emails, the keeping track of tax stuff, like all that doesn't make me happy.
Paperwork the game, not a big seller.
No, sadly.
Yeah. We had a question from Anne. She said that you mentioned party games and what she thought was a negative light. Do you think party games are still viable? Because she's got a couple that she would like to see. And just like, do you think the market is still there for party games?
Yeah, well, it's sort of a curve, right? I mean, something will come out, it'll get hot, then everybody will jump on, and they'll pile on so heavy they'll smush it, and then it'll go down. And that's kind of like, you have to stick around long enough to watch the cycles, and then you just have to watch the publishers, who's putting out what. I don't know what kind of party games you're talking about, and I don't mean it in a negative light at all. I've got a number of party games coming out this year, and over time I've done lots and lots of party games. So I think there's always opportunity, but like I was saying before, you just don't know what it's going to be, and you never know what's going to resonate with somebody who's got the power to publish something. So you just kind of have to keep giving them. I mean, it's like a cafeteria. Put the Jell-O next to the hamburger, next to the whatever, and see what they're going to pick, because they think they know what they want, but they don't.
Oh.
They say they know what they want, but they always end it with, like, we'll say, well, what do you want? And then they'll say this, and this, and it's very specific. And then they'll say, or, surprise me.
Right.
Every one of them says it, and it's the most ridiculous thing to say.
Well, it's like what I tell my students. I said, if you follow the rules on what everybody says you should do, you will be very, very good, but you won't be great. And greatness comes when you reinvent the rules, when you break the rules, when you make your own rules. And
that's the thing they never show you. And this is important to me. And I wish, both of my parents were school teachers, and I taught for a little while, but it never really was my thing. But I wish they would teach kids, and whoever, I wish they would teach all students that you're going to suck, like, for a very long time. And there's nothing the matter with that. And that's how you get to be good, is that you got to keep trying, and you got to keep sucking, and you got to keep making awful, awful things. And then eventually you get the muscles, and you get like you cut your teeth. And they don't tell kids that. And they don't they don't know how to fail. They don't understand how failure is so informative. And it's really not that painful when you get used to it. And
I could talk on this for hours, because I basically use game design as a way for my gifted students to learn what it means to fail. I use the term setback, but basically, they've only been successful in school, and it's get the project, do it really well, turn it in, get a good grade, and never see it again. So to have this like iterative process of something that starts out as not great and keep working towards it, like the hardest thing it is for me to do, and the hardest thing for them to accept, is it's okay that it's not good. You can still feel successful, and you can get better at this. And they are dubious. Even after doing this for a semester, there are kids who don't believe me. And I struggle with,
that's too bad, because they need to understand. But this is not true just in game design. It's true in every aspect of life.
Yeah.
Relationships, it's true with cleaning your house. It's true with everything. It's going to be not very good at it until you get good at it.
Right. Well, and
you might never get good at it.
Yeah. And when later on, like when they're in high school, they'll come back and they'll say, I really wish that we had a class where we could design games. Like they need a couple years to kind of process it. And then I think once they kind of mature a bit, because 7th grade is pretty young. But I understand that. I mean, and it's something that I'm still struggling with. It's something that, I think all of us have, like those dark moments where it's like, I don't have the answer yet. I'm trying to figure this out, and you just have to have, I took one of those posts, Andy from Parks and Rec. Someone took all of his quotes and turned them into motivational posters. And whenever I present to other people about teaching game design, whenever I present to students, there's one of this whatever, there's this landscape, and it says, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I'm doing it really, really well. And that's like my mantra. And that's what I try to convince them. Like, it's okay to feel like this. This is okay. And they're just like,
Sure. Or even not that, or even, but I'm doing something.
Yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of people are just paralyzed. You know, I get it more with like the books that I've created there, but it's the same with games. They're like, how do you get the deal? How do you do the contract? How do you get in? How do you get to the publisher? And I'm like, have you written the book?
Yeah.
Well, and I go, do you have a pencil? because they don't, everybody wants to jump to the finish line, and that is not how it works. And I'll tell you, if you come to my studio and watch me work, it would be so boring. It's like going to somebody's house and watch them watch TV. It's just like, it's thinking, it's doing and nobody really sees your light on all night or all that stuff. They just see the home run you hit and they think you're a rock star.
Right.
But,
right.
There's really a lot of slog in between.
Yeah. It's like the Olympics. They make it look easy. You don't see the work.
Sure. And you don't see the sweat. I mean, some of that stuff is so grueling. And I'm not even talking about the Olympic stuff. I'm talking about the getting up at 5:00 and trying to catch the bus and it's just snowbank and I wipe out. And like, there's so many little things that go in between that perfect, whatever performance.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's why one of the reasons that the logo for Board Game Broads is a broad at night with the light on, with all the stuff all over the desk, got a million things going on, just working.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I get my family comes over and they're like, you haven't vacuumed in here. And I'm like,
I know, it's great. So comfy and soft.
I'm like, there's a vacuum. Feel free to help yourself.
I know. I literally was trying to find a surface to eat on today. Just every surface is covered in games or prototyping stuff.
I know. And you always got to keep your drink gravitationally lower than your game. That's a rule.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I met one of my best friends in gaming by accidentally dumping a soda all over a game, and I was cleaning it up, and then I saw you at a prototype, and I was like, what's that? And then we became friends. And I was like, that's a brave man, because he just saw me dump a soda on another game, too. But
yeah, that's pretty harsh.
Coleman is kind and forgiving, so it's
nice.
Good. So we have one more question from Anne. Novel publishers have events like PitMad. Do game publishers have anything similar? And I don't know what PitMad is.
I don't know what that is either. So I don't know what's similar to that, but generally, no. I mean, especially in the mass market, they don't want to hear from anybody that's not a pro. And it's kind of tricky because you have to be a pro before they really listen to you, and you can't be a pro until they listen to you.
Right.
So
exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of an impossible equation, but it's kind of like do you have a pencil? Just get out there and do the work, make the stuff. Make the stuff and get any eyeballs on it that you can. And again, Shy-Take is a really good place to do that because a lot of the professional, and they're actually the captains of the game and toy industry, come to that event, and you can really sit down and have a beer with them. It does a pretty good job of leveling the playing field. That's one good place that you can. And over the years when I was newer at it, we would just show up to Toy Fair and just walk up and start shaking hands. And they can't make a scene and throw you. I have been physically thrown out. Story. I'm not going to name names, but I mean, you just have to get in there and scrap it up. You just do. And I always say, it's hard, and you have to listen to people not want you. And it doesn't, it's tough. And I always say I'm a very thin person. I just have a very thick skin. And in a way, it's true. You just, now I'm at the point where it's like, hurry up and reject me because I have stuff to do.
Right.
I really don't care why, I like to know what the reasons are sometimes, but in a lot of cases, it just comes down to, it's peanuts. It just isn't the right moment.
Right.
Or it's not the kind of thing we make, or I don't like blue, or I have something against fish, or whatever the thing is. And you can't know that. So you just march it down to the next place.
Yeah.
So before we have let you go, Peggy, just one other viewer question. This is the most viewer questions we've ever had, which is very exciting. Tammy in BC. She's wondering if you find that there's more women in the mass market side of game design. No. We're not anywhere.
It's not a long answer. No, there are none. It's terribly sparse. It's just
in that Hasbro room, that Inventor Day. Yeah, vast majority were
especially since that was the first year I was invited to that.
Oh, really?
I've been at this for 30 years.
Wow.
And that's because they were making an effort to bring more women in.
Yeah,
that's probably why a number of us were there. But that's new. And I think part of it's new because it's embarrassing. Because some light bulb went off someplace and they're like, oh.
Maybe skirts can design.
Hey,
Sorry.
I don't really know what the problem is,
No.
but boy, are they missing out on an awful lot of good stuff.
I think so. Well, and this is why, like I said, so excited to have you on the show because, I mean, and I mean this, like you're a Valkyrie, you know what I mean? Like you can handle yourself in the field of battle. I mean, like you've done, yeah, I mean, you've done so much, you know, and I appreciate so much everything you've done. And it is women like you know, the expression pioneers get shot, you know, settlers get the land. You've gotten thrown out of some party. I hope you tell me about some.
Oh, I've got lots and lots of stories.
But
I don't know if I can open the vault. You know, like I wrote a chapter. Did you read Girls on Games?
Yeah, I got that up here.
Okay, so I wrote a chapter for that, and what's funny about it is I thought, oh well, that's it. Okay, Lisa Teague wrote that or put it together. She interviewed a lot of women game designers, and I remember writing that article, and I was trying to explain just how sexist it all is and how difficult it has been. And I still had to couch my remarks. And if you read my article, it's like, oh, it's still the greatest job in the world, and I still love doing it. And it's like, I knew as I wrote that I had to sound positive to try to give people something to shoot for, some reason to try. But it's hard. And if you don't have some real backbone, it's a very difficult place to spin. It takes a lot of armor, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
And that's where failing fast and repeatedly makes you better and better and more prepared.
Yeah, you just get used to it. It doesn't hurt so bad. It's like you become bulletproof over time because you're just so riddled with bullets. It's like you can't shoot holes in me. I'm full of holes.
Oh my god!
It goes right through.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Not to bring down the house, but
no, I love that.
On that note.
No, I think that's like a really good way to do that because, you know, when it comes to like, I mean, it's hard, I think, for a lot of people. It's hard for men too. If you're shy, if you're nervous, if you've, you know, whatever, we all have our own kind of nerves that we bring into it. And I love though, this message of strength that you can take a hit. You can get in there.
Yeah. But you know what else? They're all just made out of this, you know. Everybody's just made out of this. It's like 97 cents worth of earth elements, right? They're just people, and you just have to appeal to their humanity. That's what you have to get their ear. You have to talk to them while they're not trying to sell to their customers because they don't want to hear you until they have a moment. But then they're just people.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, my pleasure. This was fun.
Excellent.
Yeah, it was very cool. So awesome to have you, and also having Mary Cousin, another, you know, trailblazer in the industry. Commenting is so cool.
Yeah. If people want to reach out to contact you, or if they want to find more out about what you do, how can people do that?
PeggyBrown.com.
There it is.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's a ton of videos on YouTube of Peggy on Rachel Ray show. Everyone remembers that.
Yeah, I used to do that. I used to do appearances on goofy stuff.
And I always call you Peggy from Milwaukee.
Yeah, I know.
That was like your thing, Peggy from Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's all fine. It was fun for a while. I don't know. That's the thing. I like little bits of things, and then I move on. I'm a fair weather fan of everything, and then it's like, oh, there's something else shiny over there.
Well, if you go to Chai Tag, you'll probably be there.
Oh, I'll be at Chai Tag for sure. Yep, the whole time. So
I definitely need to get down to. I've never been. I've been wanting to go.
I'll tell you, Pam. It is really worth it.
Yeah,
everyone's shocked at how worth it is. Everybody's like, oh, it costs money. You know what? It's the cheapest $1,000 you ever spent.
Yeah.
I'm unbelievably great for building relationships and learning the ropes.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I mean, this year I'm doing BGG Con because they're the same time, but maybe next year, Pam, you and I take it on.
Yes.
Yeah.
November.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So you'll see us going like this, kind of like waving at you from around, like, you know, booths will be like, hey, Peggy.
What's cool about ShyTag is it's conferences, it's meetings. It's not just walking around an open show, open
Yeah.
floor.
Right.
So there's all these really nice kind of quiet moments where you really get more than just a quick hello.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and they do, and I know ShyTech does a lot of cool stuff with their Young Inventor Showcase, and
challenge.
so that's something too, especially for my students to as always sort of like a goal to work towards. So
some of those kids they've won good prize money and scholarships and stuff, but they've also gotten their products licensed. Like 6-year-old kids, 10-year-old kids.
Yeah,
no, but we need to tell the 10-year-olds that they suck and that they need to keep failing. We can't give them money and scholarships and prizes.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You only get one shot to be a whiz kid.
Oh my God. This is maybe why Pam doesn't teach,
I thought you were literally teaching your kids how to fail. Isn't that
you're like, you'll never be successful again. I'm like,
well, just do it while you're young and everybody will think it's impressive. Otherwise, you're just another moop going to work every day.
That's hilarious.
Am I wrong?
Oh, yeah. Mary just has, she said she has my game design resources in the Young Inventors Showcase section. Thank you. You are welcome. Happy to. Well, awesome. Well, thanks again, Peggy. This has been so fun. So fun chatting with you.
Thanks,
yeah.
Thanks so much, Peggy. I'm going to. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, thanks.
Sorry, I had to find the button.
Still better than how we did last week with our technical problems. So yay us. And by the way, for the 50 minutes of trying to figure out the tech problems before the show, Pam was figuring out the tech problems. I was putting on my makeup and taking selfies, which you can see it at Mercury7Ms on Instagram. It's true.
Oh, it was so funny. I was like, are you taking selfies? Oh my God. It all worked out. So noted that we can't start 5 minutes before the show. We need to definitely start an hour before, just in case. So
lesson learned.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, but this was the book that Peggy was talking about. So it's Girls on Games by Lisa Teague, also an amazing designer I would love to have on the show at some point. Got a whole bunch of designers to write about their experience in the tabletop industry, and Peggy has a chapter in there. So very cool.
Cool. We got some thank yous from everybody watching. Anne and Mary, you are very welcome. This is obviously super fun for us, and we are lucky and privileged to be able to do it. Hey, do you have a game? Oh, you're going to make me guess, aren't you?
If you get this, I'm going to be very impressed.
Ugh.
Okay.
I'm the worst at this.
Okay, so now we're entering our segment where we pick a game designed by a woman or gender non-conforming person that we enjoy. So this is a 25 card game. So just 25 cards. It's designed by Carla Kopp from Weird Giraffe Games. Carla, you want to pick this up? And it's about computer hackers trying to get the most cred as the best computer hacker in the world.
I mean, I know Carla, and luckily now I've been able to be fortunate enough to hang out with her. And so I don't know her whole product line, Fire in the Library. I played that, but that wasn't her game. That was Spirited Rogue. You're just going to have to tell me.
Super hack override. I was going to say overdrive. Super hack override.
Well, it's a fun package. It's very Tron-esque.
Yeah, the design is very cool. So like I said, it's just 25 cards, and everyone has their 5 cards or whatever, and the art, is very cool. It's like the diskette floppy disk. So you just play a card to do hacks, and you're trying to build up your cred as the best hacker. But if you get too cocky and you infiltrate government systems, too many of them, then you get caught and you go to jail and you're out. So you're trying to get the most cred, but you're not trying to be too arrogant that you get caught and go to jail. So it's a lot of sort of balance, and there's a lot of sort of trading cards, taking other people's cards, swapping back and forth, a lot of take that actions. It's fun. It's very cool. I think it was Carla's first Kickstarter, and it was one of my first Kickstarters I backed. And I actually played this for the first time at my very first Gen Con, my first and only Gen Con in 2016, I think. 2016.
Wow.
And that's where I first met Carla. She was there promoting this game, and I played it there, and I liked it. So then I backed it. And she's gone on to do some really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So if you don't follow, you should definitely follow Carla on Twitter. She's at Weird Giraffe Games. Very cool. And she's coming to Proto TO. Just signed up to come. So that's very cool.
Yeah, I really wanted to come.
It's okay. I mean, coming up to Toronto twice in a month is, I understand. But you have a choice next year between Fan Expo and Proto TO.
Proto TO,
yeah,
obviously.
But yeah, so that was my game. What was yours?
So I picked a designer who I've only begun to sort of meet, and not even like directly in person, but just through a mutual project. And so I wanted to highlight Nikki Valens, who has worked on from Fantasy Flight, who's no longer with Fantasy Flight, but Eldritch Horror, Mansions of Madness, and Legends of Dragonholt, which are just big evocative games that bring in story, that narrative, role playing, in addition to like really solid gameplay. Plus you're talking about, these themes that, I think are so interesting when you can get it right, especially horror in a game. And how can you, as designers, we want to create an experience. We want players to have some sort of like moment. And so to create horror out of a board game, I think is a really amazing talent and skill. And so I wanted to highlight Nikki.
And Eldritch Horror is in the top 100 games on Board Game Geek.
Yeah.
Which is a huge feat.
Yes. So I wanted to highlight Nikki because especially for their work on just all these different projects of just scale and scope that I can't possibly imagine. Because I'm a tiny little baby designer. big. So yeah. So that's my design. And it's funny though, because I realized that I left the game downstairs. And so like, I don't even have a box to hold up. So this is Ghost Game.
Well, it's good that you're like in complete darkness. It looks you look like just a floating head, so
it's like Disney. Wait, hold on.
There you go. Eldritch Horror.
Yeah, thanks for coming to the Haunted Mansion. Ooh, so scary. Oh.
Amazing.
Yeah, so there's that. Cool.
I'm excited for Fan Expo when we hang out next week in person, because we'll probably have some beers and it's just gonna be even weirder than usual. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited too. Yes,
I'm this very, is how very we excited. Are like on like a live, like other people watching.
Yeah.
Like I'm way weirder than this. Like this is like professional weird Pam. So
I describe myself as a fart in church. No, I think it's going to be so fun. And so we'll definitely have next week, we will have stories. So tell you what, if you are watching this and you want to send us a challenge of the safe, non-humiliating kind for us for Fan Expo, can't promise, but if people send us a challenge to do something there, I'm game.
Hey, how about this? How about if we get to 50 subscribers on YouTube, we'll do something.
I know, my favorite is like when we ask people on Twitter to do that, we had like 600 people like liking and retweeting the post. And I was like, yeah, I love that. Like, thank you for liking and retweeting the post. Now hit the button.
I hit the button. We're at 47, so it's not asking too much, is it?
We're almost breaking the internet. Really.
I know. Watch out. Once we get to 100, oh boy.
We're gonna get it mugs.
Yes, you'll be official.
Thanks, Peggy. She's saying goodbye.
Yeah, thanks so much, Peggy. That was so awesome.
Super fun.
Yeah, cool. So we're gonna be posting live videos at Fan Expo doing Friendship Escalator. We're gonna be going up the escalator, asking people questions, maybe getting to do stuff. And And then we're also going to record our panels. I don't know if they'll be live streamed, but they might be posted later.
I don't know.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. Next week we're going to have more content, and then we have some other things in the works as well. So
yeah. We should hopefully try to record in person together. So even if we can't like live stream it, something that we can upload, And then we've also got some other fun ideas about for Board Game Broads and what we want to do, and that talking about them next week in Toronto too. So stay tuned. If there's some fun things that you'd think would be fun, shoot them our way as well. We love it.
Awesome.
Yay.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Yeah.
See you next week.
Yes.
Later.
Wait, what's next week? Oh, Toronto.